Welcome back, everybody, to Cool's Reviews. We're continuing our trek through the Chad Kalick documentaries that he's done. We've done, obviously, like Sir No Face, Two Face the Grey, Phantom Rider, and tonight we are talking about American Ghost Hunter. So it is his first documentary. He was director for, like, The Ghost
First one?
Prophecies. What?
This one was the first one?
Yeah, so this is his very first, like, documentary. Now, he did have director credits for Paranormal State, as well as Ghost Prophecies, which came out, Paranormal State came out in 2007. Ghost Prophecies was 2010. This one is also 2010, but in the update it said 2011, so now I'm kind of confused if what we watched had like a more recent update. I don't know.
A revamp or some shit?
Yeah. Yeah, so we're checking out this one. It's I guess about Chad and his family. And guest stars, if you've ever seen any of the Paranormal State stuff, you should obviously know Ryan Buell and some of the other members that are on Paranormal State that are in this show. Sam has not seen Paranormal State, so this was kind of fresh to him
Mm-hmm.
as far as like those people. But yeah, after this, we'll only have two more of Chad, and then we can get to ranking them and see which one is his best one. I'm still probably no spoilers, but spoiler, it's either going to be or No Face or Two Face the Gray. At least with the ones we've watched so far.
True.
So, I mean, spoilers, guys. This one came out in 2010, so 13 years ago. So, you know, if you want to watch it, it's on Tubi. I recommend watching it on Tubi.
Yep, it's pretty.
It's free. uh, Pretty much all the other ones we've watched you can find on Tubi as well. All of them actually. I think we've watched all of them on Tubi. So yeah, I mean, American Ghost Hunter really, I guess, tells Chad's story, and Ryan's there for name purposes, I guess, because they're friends too, I suppose. And it talks about his mom being possessed, and then they ghost hunt three different places. One was his, like, I guess the home that they grew up in, but it was like super short. Like they just showed him like freaking out about the stairs. And then he went upstairs and was like, "You made me," and then they left. So don't expect a lot from that that one.
True.
Sam, having never seen Paranormal State and only knowing Chad from the previous three documentaries we've talked about, what are your thoughts with this one?
I see where you get some camera techniques from, and
I don't get no
I'm not gonna
camera
say
techniques.
we're not gonna say names, but a style too.
Just because we watched some Chris James doesn't mean that's where I get my style.
Honestly, it was pretty hard to watch. Pretty hard to watch. I mean, it didn't. I don't know. It was like interesting, but like at the same time, like there was. Are we doing non spoilers right now?
No, we're doing spoilers. It's been out for
Okay.
13 years. Like,
So it don't matter. Okay. I just
yeah,
want to make sure before I get into it. But there's
yeah,
clearly a point where it was Ryan or whoever he was with, like clearly kicked something, and then he's just like, "Whoa, did you hear that?" Like it literally looks like he leaned into it and like kicked something.
yeah.
So I don't.
I mean, we can't see for certain, but the movement that he makes, or whoever the camera is focused on, it definitely looks like either maybe they
They
didn't mean to, but they did something. Because it looked
right,
like they went like that, and like their leg came out.
right, and then they kind of like quickly panned away from him, like after that happened. So there's that part, and then there's a lot of parts with like some strange noises, and then like stuff you see on the camera, which the stuff you see, it's hard to like. Those could be actual like captures of something potentially, but with seeing how they do the other stuff, I would probably say not. And then yeah, there's like multiple points where like things are just weird. Like the part with like his brother and like he says his brother's name, and then you kind of hear him say like his brother or you don't really hear him say his brother's name, but you hear him calling or
You hear his. So what
I
Sam's saying is like there's like.
don't know how to explain that very well because it was confusing.
So what Sam's talking about is there's a scene where their brothers like reciting scripture or something, or saying a prayer from like his room, and they're up in the living room, Ryan and
No,
Chad.
wasn't saying prayer. He was telling it to. I don't know what he was doing. He was asking it to reveal itself or something.
Yeah, he was doing something, but then I there was a noise, I guess. I forget what. I think it was like a bang or something, and Chad like kind of delay reaction, but then he's like Brian, and then they go to like you hear it from Brian's side and it's kind of faint, but then they walk over and they're like Brian's like, "Did you call my name?" And Ryan was like, "No." And I was just like,
Yeah,
"What?" And Sam's like, "Well, he yelled it." Like,
yeah. Like Chad yells his brother's name. So yeah, yeah. I don't really know. I don't know how to take that. There was a part where they reached out to a psychic, if I'm not mistaken, with like a letter, and then it didn't actually reach the person that they were intending it for it to reach.
yeah, and that's something I'd have to research. Um, what was the guy's name? Jackson? Something Jackson.
I have no idea.
We just watched
Oh,
him. We can't even. It was something Jackson, but they thought it was going. What they say? Randy Jackson? No, it was something Jackson, I think. But they thought it was going to Ed and Lorraine Warren, which eventually I guess it kind of does because we have Lorraine in the documentary.
mhm.
So because I guess she's also friends or somehow Ryan knows her. And I was like, I mean, I guess it could happen, right? But just like, how did you get Lorraine in here? But yeah, the that part was interesting because I guess he was saying he experienced a bunch of stuff and then they just never called them back.
Yeah, or I don't know. Yeah, he was like at like the end. It said he was like the stuff like heightened a little bit, but then just faded out. Which maybe he just like wasn't recording it or something. I mean, because when was this? Like it was like 2008 or something.
When this movie came out, the movie came out in 2010, so before
Yeah,
then.
they were talking about like in 2008, like they were doing it in 2008 or like making it or something. There's something to do with 2008. All I know
Which
is like
is
one of their cameras was like not wanting to focus, which in a dark room, like one of our cameras has done that before. Like the main one that we record on definitely had a struggle. Like when we were up in Adams State, definitely had a problem with like kind of unfocusing itself. But the weird thing was, is like that was just in pitch black, so that was just in complete darkness. Whereas they had like a light on it or holding a flashlight, which doesn't make sense for it to not focus at that point. But it was just really weird that like one of their cameras was just like really really bad.
all the time too. It's like it'd be one thing I think if like it zoomed out or you lost focus like randomly, but it was like every time, not just once, like every time something would happen during that investigation. Like
Mhm.
you'd hear noises and they'd be like, "Here's the replay." I'm like, it doesn't help. Like you don't see anything. The noise
True.
doesn't help.
It was like one point where it like focused on something where it like got too like focused. You could watch it focus, but that was like kind of about it with that camera. Or
Or it
maybe
was
not.
like
Like maybe other times it was like I don't know how many people had cameras. I don't think each of them had like one camera each, and that like that one had moments of being focused and then had moments of not being focused. Like it was kind of like back and forth. It was weird.
yeah, I mean, and it was weird because it would show like the investigating camera and it would be super grainy. and then the so-called like interview at the same time, not grainy at all.
Hmm.
And I was just like, why are you using that camera then? Like clearly,
True.
like it shoots better.
Who knows? We weren't there. We don't know unless they want to tell us.
Chad, you gonna come on and tell us? I
Right?
won't know. I mean, obviously we're not gonna know right now, but maybe at some point we'll know. He'll say, "Yeah, I'll come talk to you guys."
True.
And at the end, when Lorraine's there, like Ryan's like, "You got to go in there and make your mom mad. You know this is what was gonna happen." And then it's like a good like 3 or 4 minutes of just like sad sounding music while Chad's like crying over the fence or smoking cigarettes walking around the neighborhood. And Ryan and Lorraine are just like chatting in the back. Like you see them just chatting in the background by a tree. And then he finally like walks up to them and he's like, "Okay, we're gonna do it." And then on the way back, like Ryan's like, "You knew this was gonna happen, but I feel dirty."
Yeah, that was like after he did it, he
Yeah.
felt or yeah, felt bad about it, and then he explains his story
Yeah,
of like,
which if it's true, it's pretty fucked up.
right,
Like he saw some paranormal stuff and then his mom
got,
would beat him. Yeah.
but I don't know. You never know. Can't like kind of explain too much of other people's like personal experiences because like only they really know.
Yeah, we can only tell you what we watched in this documentary.
Yeah, basically.
And it was hard to watch, like Sam said. Uh it's been a while. I mean, I've seen this once before, long time ago, because I remember when it first came out. And I think we touched upon this on one of our other reviews. But there was a time Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State were all running simultaneously, and they all had really big followings. And there was a person that really, really liked Paranormal State that I knew, and they recommended me to watch this. And I watched it, and I was like, I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, Sam, how do you feel about like the directorial style?
I mean, I wasn't a fan of it just because like they were just like cutting, they were just doing like cuts, like a lot. Like there was like a lot of cuts throughout the entire like documentary, like too many cuts.
And it hyped up when they were investigating. When they get to investigation, it was like a line, bam, line, bam, line, bam, line, bam.
Yeah,
It's like, let it play out, man.
yeah, it was a little much, but other than that, I mean,
I mean, it goes from grayscale to color to like different types of just one tone colors. And there was a scene where they were like zoomed in on Ryan's eyes, but it was out of focus.
which is a Keegan tactic.
That is not a Keegan tactic.
I've seen you zoom like way too close on.
It
I don't know if we're recording, but we do that, so that's why I call it the Keegan tactic.
No, but I mean, it seemed like we were watching like a '90s like grunge or like maybe like a Coldplay like music video at the beginning. No, I won't say Coldplay, but like a grunge music video, like a black and white grunge music video. Not really a lot in focus. Um, at one time, they're playing Metallica, or at least a cover of it. We're not sure if they actually had Metallica
Well, like a beginning sample of it or some sort of thing.
or just had someone cover it. I don't. What else happened in
I
here?
think the beginning was definitely hard to watch because like it honestly hurt my eyes watching it.
Oh, wait, you're talking. Yeah, so it starts off and it's black and white, and it's filmed kind of
Like
Blair Witch style.
I wouldn't even say I think Blair Witch did was like better than that. Like this one
Well,
like physically hurt my eyes.
we
Well, I'm
actually
saying
had
at least that like
directors.
huh?
We actually had actual like film directors.
Well,
Like I
in
don't know.
this.
I don't know
I'm
if
just
Chad
saying, like, just the way that they filmed that beginning part, where it was just like, it was
slow
like go
motion.
like if I, it was basically like if I was taking my glasses and like taking them off and seeing it like super blurry, and then like slowly putting them like far out, but then getting closer and then like pulling it away and like pulling it, like pulling my glasses on and off like this.
Well, and like, not only was it coming at you this way, but it would be like slow
Oh,
motion, and
that
then
was
it
good
would
too.
turn.
There was a part where it was just like at the bottom, and it was like it felt like it was wrapping around, like making like a tunnel vision. Like it was. If I was gonna be the whole movie, I would have probably like turned it off because I was like, I can't deal with this. Like it was too much for my eyes to handle, and I can handle a good amount, but like that was, it was a little too much at the beginning. But then it kind of like, after they got done with like their like opening credits, I would like
Voiceover. Yeah, their opening
so
voiceover. Yeah,
like
I mean,
it better. I mean, yeah, it like calmed down from there.
yeah, like Sam said, it was they were like following a path, but it was like slow motion, blurry, and when they would move, it would get more blurry, or the colors would like it was just yeah. Um, I think also the framing is kind of weird because at one point it seemed like Chad was interviewing a two by four.
Both him and Ryan were both interviewing like a
Two
two
by
by
fours.
four, or it was one of those like wood stands that you would put like a piece of wood on to cut
Hmm.
like something off of, like a stabilizer, a wood stabilizer. It literally looked like they were talking to that or underneath it to like a two by four beam that
Yeah,
was like holding up the room. Like I'm not really sure what it
I
was,
mean,
but it also could have just been like maybe like when we do EVP sessions, they're just like staring at something. Because like I know I do that when we're doing an EVP session. Like I kind of like am like staring at an object, not really talking to the object, but I'm definitely like staring at something.
mhm. I mean, it was definitely like supposed to be an EVP like session, but they would show Chad's face, and then the next, as he would ask a question, it would just turn, like the camera angle would change, and it would just be a two by four, and I was
Yeah,
like,
I don't know the point of recording that. Like either that camera guy was just like fixated on that two by four, or I don't know what was going on there.
yeah, and there wasn't.
I don't know how many people were up there. Was it just Chad and Ryan? Because then Ryan was the one recording the two by four.
I know it's like they there was a scene where they're interviewing his brother, Chad's brother, and I we think it was Ryan. It might not have been Ryan, but we think it was Ryan, like filming Brian, who was Chad's brother, and then Chad filming Ryan, which I mean, I guess that would make sense, right? Um, but like every time like they'd hear a noise and like you'd see like Ryan like shine the camera, the other camera like with his light on his camera, but it would never like really show us that angle, which is
Yeah,
something I was upset
Chad.
with. Yeah, which is something I was upset with. And if you remember back to Sir No Face, I was like, where's the other angles? Now we know. Perhaps they just don't show the other angle. I don't know. I think a real question, Sam, is having now delved into a non Sir No Face documentary, since the other three were that trilogy, how does this affect your viewpoint of those?
I mean, Keegan brought up a point in the Sir No Face footage that like it sounded like Chad wanted to talk about aliens, and then like literally the beginning after like the blurry kind of voiceover opening, he talks about UFOs and like shows this recording of what I assume to be a UFO or someone hoaxing a UFO, because like either they were on something that they were all like rotating about, or just like someone who was recording like was not very steady with it, which was kind of a common occurrence throughout this film. So I'm not not ruling out that they just did that, but there was like this footage that somebody caught of a UFO, and it was like very, what is that? What is that? Like camera filter. Like it's not black and white. It's not like the gray or black and white. It's like
Like sepia tone.
yeah, that one. The sepia tone. So it was like that had that like kind of uh yellowish brown look to it. Like very I don't know how to explain it. But they had that and they were talking about UFOs and like seeing a bunch of UFOs where they were at. And then it went to like then there wasn't really mention of that, and then it went straight into like ghost stuff and possession and a bunch of other things, which I was just like, wait, what was the point of having that in there? Like, I didn't understand the reasoning for that. And I honestly forgot about it for a little bit until like you brought up the Sir No Face thing, and that brings back that. So I'm assuming, yeah, it kind of seemed like for Sir No Face, he wanted us to talk more about aliens, but then just it started with paranormal. It was like an opposite. It was like a polar opposite where I mean, I guess no, it really wasn't. Like if you watched it from Two Face the Gray, then it would have been like a polar opposite of that one because then it was just like brief thing about ghosts and then it was about aliens. Whereas this was like a brief thing about aliens and then it was just about a bunch of ghosts, but not related to each other in this one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and you would be forgiven if you thought you were watching the same film twice with Sir No Face and this one because they start off with the exact same text.
True. I think that's just kind of his style of like filming documentaries though. Which it's not like a super terrible way to do it. It's just I don't know how it's done, maybe.
It seems like if you watch Sir No Face, if you watch Two Face the Gray, I guess you can watch Phantom Rider, and then you watch this one. There's a lot of similarities between the stories, I suppose. If you watch this one and then watch, well, if you watch this one and watch like Sir No Face and Two Face the Gray, it's like he didn't even have any of these experiences in those.
Any of these experiences, or wait, like what's happening now,
Yeah, it
or
just seems
what's
like
happening in this episode?
yeah, it just seems like these didn't happen. And maybe that's he tries to not talk about this for another reason that we won't really bring up, but
Well, that everybody kind of knows about. I think that maybe he's just trying to forget about these times just because of
something.
the shady things that other people did.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. The more you think of it, maybe that's why.
Because he
It
does
feels
talk about being betrayed before, and that could be what he's talking about that betrayal was in Sir No Face. And that's why he
maybe.
was very like questioning of the other people or that other paranormal group because he has dealt with something and so he's being extra at least I wouldn't say I mean during the interview of Sir No Face he definitely was being really cautious and like said that he was betrayed before and this kind of after Keegan told me about certain things that I think everybody knows about at this point from what was kind of done I could see why he's being very more cautious about it just because of the certain circumstances in Sir No Face, at least.
We've watched one not bad ghost documentary, right? And then we've watched two that were questionable. It seems like they've just it's kind of like the Jaws effect, where obviously Jaws was good, and every other shark movie since has been just downhill. It's kind of what it seems like here. Um,
I mean, this is like his first documentary. I feel like he's kind of gotten better about it since this one.
until Phantom Rider, I would watch this over Phantom Rider. Like
Um, I mean,
this one was hard, but at least I mean, I wanted to shut off Phantom Rider, and I was like, no, we got to complete this. Like, this has been our goal. Like, the first, like, 30, 40 minutes of it just being, like, a graphically designed YouTube short for 45 minutes was, like, really hard to watch.
I mean, throughout this entire film, we were wondering how much longer it was going to be, though. Even when
It's
it's 15 minutes in, I was just like, oh God, this is going to be a long ride.
yeah, no, it's definitely not going to make our list of old-time favorite documentaries. And it's kind of weird when you think of it, like back in the day, like 2010, people were saying this was like the greatest ghost documentary of all time. And it's just like, is this really all we have? Like,
Right? This is what we get to work with.
yeah, I mean, it's a field that, it's hard for people to take seriously. And
And then you have a bunch of people that are kind of just like making it harder just because of them not taking it as serious as it like kind of can be for like some people.
yeah, I mean, in this documentary, there's really no ghost footage. There's like noises. There's one instance where there's some light, but for the majority, it's noises that you hear. And a lot of times when you hear the noises, it's not where the camera's facing or the camera's like blurred. And so then
Mhm.
at that point, it's like, I don't know. There's just not a lot of great evidence, I suppose. But I mean, he's releasing another one, or he released another one called 74 Minutes, which is supposed to be 74 minutes of the best ghost evidence he's captured. So maybe that one will be better.
Right? I mean, I think we have another one to get into before we get to that one, but we will eventually get there.
Yeah, our next one's probably going to be a Blood Red Sky, as long as we can find it on Tubi. If it's not on Tubi, then 74 minutes is, so that will definitely be on there.
True.
Blood a Blood Red Sky is what had been mentioned pretty heavily at the beginning of Sir No Face. We don't think it ties in. We just think that was kind of what he was touring with at the time. But it's also mentioned in Two Face the Gray at the beginning as well, which just kind of confuses the timelines. Real quick, I want to see what the ratings are. So American Ghost Hunter on IMDb has 4.3 out of 10. Blood Red Sky has
Is it just Blood
4.6.
Red Sky?
A Blood Red Sky, 2015.
So we are going to look into Blood Red Sky. Will probably be our next one. And then we'll go to 74 minutes because I think that's his newest one, correct?
Yeah, that's the only other one. I didn't know it was released until we found it on Tubi. But it is on Tubi.
It started to play after I watched Two
Is
Face
it?
the Gray.
Okay.
It started to play that one.
Yeah, so we'll watch those two and we'll give you guys like a complete list, like Chad Kalich's best films ranked or films ranked from best to, or worst to best. Um, so talking about rating and ranking, Sam, recommendation and rating for you on American Ghost Hunter.
Uh, I'm gonna give it a one.
A
And I don't
one.
think I've ever done this on any of my ratings. I'm gonna give this one a one. And as far as a paranormal film, I would not recommend it. I mean, if you're interested to see what people thought was the best, I would say go for it, but just be ready. But I don't know. I'm not gonna say I would recommend this one. Um,
Like this says a lot because you at least were like, I guess if you watch the previous to watch Phantom Rider. So for
right.
you to be like, nah. See, for me, I think I could watch it more than Phantom Rider, which, like I said, felt supplemental, was very hard to watch in the beginning. But I think a 2 or 3 out of 10, like it is not very good. Like 3 out of 10 is being super generous. Like if I'm in a super good mood that day, maybe. Uh, but yeah, it's definitely lower than the other two, and I think I only gave those a 4 or 5 for both of those.
Yeah.
And it starts to make you wonder, like the more we watch of his films, does it bring the other ones down, like rating wise?
Um, no, I will probably stick with what I said about the other ones because they were definitely better edited than this one, but this was his first one, so I'm not like saying that like this one the editing needed to be improved on this one. Other than that, like I rate those other ones still higher just because they were done better because he's learned obviously and like used some different techniques into it. So I'd probably keep those ones about the same. Besides I think I rated the second one pretty high in like, or I think I rated the first one pretty high. I don't remember. I rated one of them pretty high, and then I kind of changed my mind on it. That was probably the only time that I would change it because the other ones I would probably keep about the same. But this one just, I don't know, was not a fan about it. I was like,
Yeah.
kind of, we went into conversations partially through these movies and had to like replay it a couple, like we rewound it a couple times just to see
If what
if,
we thought we saw happened, yeah.
yeah. And like we were kind of getting sidetracked into other conversations and like not really watching it as much. At least I definitely was not.
I
And we're
mean, it is the second time I've watched it, and to be fair, I must have like placed a lot of it outside of my brain because up until they got to the abandoned building, like I guess I forgot a lot of that. But like when they got to the abandoned building and they had all the other people there with them, I remembered that at least. Um, yeah, I can't believe this was the greatest ghost hunting documentary made.
was
And
that
just
him or like through like the actual like other people voted that.
no, it's just what people would tell you. Like if you notice about like especially like if you look back at like Sir No Face or Two Face the Gray, there's kind of like a viral marketing going on with those two. It was kind of like Paranormal Activity, I guess, where they would show like the footage. Oh, look how this audience reacted, blah blah blah, and then if you want us to come to your state, blah blah blah, just like Paranormal Activity. Like so, they drive on the hype, and then you go in there, and you kind of forget about what it's about, and you just kind of get lost in that viral marketing, if that makes sense.
True.
But I had people like tell me, but maybe no, I had people tell me like Sir No Face was super good, and
Yeah.
that we
I
had to watch
told
it
me Two Face the Gray was like pretty crazy and like it seemed like pretty real. And then like we watched it and we're just like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I
And then I
guess
explained,
if you go into Two Face the Gray, you don't know anything else about any of his films. You especially if you haven't watched Sir No Face, right? But if you don't
mhm,
know anything about his films, you don't know anything about Most Haunted, you don't know anything about Paranormal State, you don't you just take it by its word. I could see it.
as you just watch it and being like, holy shit, this is kind of crazy. Like, check this out.
Versus like what we did. We watched it and if something was like even tonight, things would they'd say something and Sam would be like, "Oh, there goes Keegan." And I'm just like fact checking. Like, I mean, that's you always got to be. I mean, I get it, kind of get lost in it, but at the same time, if it's a documentary and it's claiming to be real,
Mhm.
always do your due diligence.
Due diligence.
Due diligence. Um, but you always just got to fact check. Unfortunately, especially after documentaries like Mermaids or that Megalodon by Animal Planet and then Discovery, which were mockumentaries, but a lot of people thought they were real, you know,
Mhm.
and it spiked ratings because people thought, "Holy cow, they got real mermaids," or they got these. what obviously are clearly CGI photos of a dead humpback whale that's been attacked, but people thought it was real. They thought the whole
Yeah,
documentary was real, even though they were actors. You go find their IMDb pages; they've been in other films and stuff. So I think that's my warning, guys. Anytime you watch documentaries, we watch a ton. We do a lot of history research on anything. Anything we talk about, we try to get as much information before we share it with you guys. It's just kind of our goal. And anytime we find something that we forgot, we always try to update you. We're human, we're going to make mistakes, but I think that's my warning. Just always make sure you guys are doing some fact checking. Something tells you it's based on a true story. It could be like Fargo, where none of it happened. Or at
true.
least I'm trying to remember how that got qualified as a true story. It's marketed as a true story, but I think the director said a car broke down one time or something, but it was like nothing to do with the movie. So always do some research, guys, and that's why we try to bring you true history of the silver screen. We do these reviews, we do crossovers with others. Like, we're doing some upcoming this year with Sam and Matt with some UFO movies, trying to give you like the history and what Hollywood changed. So, it's gonna be a fun year. Sorry, we've kind of gone into this rut if you haven't enjoyed these documentaries, but not a lot of people are talking about them. Not a lot of people talking about them, and we figured we'd save you the time because they're getting bigger on streaming services, and we figure they might end up playing. So just in case, you guys at least kind of know what you're getting yourselves into. And like we said, we'll come back. We'll do some more. Got two more of Chad's. Then we'll do our top Chad films, seeing where his end up. Right now, I think we're pretty.
Yeah, I don't know how we got into like doing all of these, like going through all of his films to talk about him, because not really sure why, but here we go. We're
Well, I mean, we know why we got roped into three of them at least.
well, we got rubbed. I kind of we got rubbed into one of them, but then we
It
know
turned
or
into a trilogy.
pointed out that there was like a bunch of different ones of it, and so then we were like going on to like a deeper dive of those essentially, or like
Yeah,
kind of had to do all three because otherwise it would have been weird. So we were going to do like we essentially wanted to do all three of them just to see.
yeah, and then I guess we just decided let's see the rest of his because he only had a few other ones that we hadn't watched. So it's not like he had like a huge filmography or something where we had to watch like 30 films or something crazy like that.
Right.
This one was also fairly long. I think it was an hour and 34 minutes. So not quite as long as Two Face or Sir No Face, but longer than Phantom Rider. So I don't know. It's something that we've done. Hopefully you guys got some good information out of it. These are all outside of the last couple that he's made. They're all fairly older. So I don't know how many people are like clamoring for some reviews for these, but if you guys are those ones, I'm glad you stumbled upon our channel. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. And again, Chad, if you've watched this, like the other three reviews we've done, and you want to come in and just tell your side of the story, I think that's all we're asking. We're just asking for a little bit more information right now.
More
Um,
context to it because like it seemed like you may have recorded a lot but then cut a lot out, and we're wondering why you cut it out, or yeah, we just want to know a little bit more.
yeah, we just obviously we've talked a lot about your films. I think we have now like 6 hours between the four films. Uh, but yeah, I think a lot of it, obviously, sort of No Face in that trilogy. We just have some questions, which we've listed in those. This one, I don't think we have a ton of questions. Maybe some more context, like as far as what happened. Maybe why this one is kind of just not mention. I mean, we don't want to assume anything, so um, just want to
True.
know why this one's just, I guess, been relegated to like the history. Um, but yeah, we just have questions. If you watch this, watch any of the other ones. We just want to do a cool interview. We've done a lot with a lot of great guests, and could just be another great guest. You know, we never know. But any final words, Sam, before we leave this review?
Yeah, do Chad and Ryan, or does Ryan and Keegan have the same clothes style? Just kidding. No, you don't have to add that in there.
Cutting. It's going on the cutting room floor. But then we'll make an hour documentary out of it. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Final thoughts was I always find it fascinating to watch other people like kind of investigate. It's always interesting to watch them do their thing while we are. Yeah, it's always interesting to watch how other people like take it and like are doing things. And I mean, they could also give us like advice for checking out certain places too to see if we can get something there that they may not have, or to check out a place just to see how it feels and whatnot. I don't know if we'll do that building in Iowa. Was it Iowa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not sure if we'll go to that building in Iowa, but I did ask Keegan to look up the backstory of it, and he just went to go see if it was abandoned at first. A post from if like the if it was built on one of those like burial sites, because that could explain why it was the way it is.
Yeah, but I think you'll find, and this is something I read, and it makes a lot of sense, but it's in one of Adam Seltzer's books, Ghost of Chicago. But he's always like it. I'm pretty sure it's his book. I'm questioning. I'm like, was it? But somewhere I read that there's a lot of stories where people always claim that there's like Indian burial grounds, like that's the go-to, but there's not always any proof that that's what it is. It's just like people's go-tos, especially because it's a lot of how a lot of like scary movies or paranormal movies go. People move into a house and it turns out to be on an Indian burial ground. So a lot of times there's not a lot of truth. We've seen that recently with some places we've been asked to go check out where people are like, "Yeah, I think this is an Indian burial ground," and it's not. But again, do your research. A lot of this stuff, I mean, sometimes it does take some time, but the internet works a lot better than how people used to have to research back in the day before. We still kind of grew up in that time before the internet was a big thing, and you
Yeah.
still had to like go through books. And I remember going to the library and trying to dig through files and stuff like that. So it's a lot easier now, guys. It still can. It's really time. Like good research takes time, so just know that's what you're getting yourself into. But it's better to have that knowledge than not. So,
True.
but yeah, I think that's it. We will talk to you guys here shortly. We got two more films to go, and then we're going to take a break after we do our ranking from films about Chad. And then we'll come back and do our really in depth dive in the Sir No Face trilogy.
Yeah,
But
because
we're
get this out of the way before we did that deep dive. Because if we did that, we would probably probably have a more biased opinion about it, about like his films, maybe, or it could be a very positive thing. So we wanted to just have it like a real review before we did that deep dive on like a lot of like lots of fact checking and stuff, and then go from there.
yeah, and that one's going to be big. We'll probably do it with Matt as well. Just have another pair of eyes that maybe he'll see something that both of us missed. Um,
Yeah,
but
which
yeah,
is very possible.
yeah, because there's man, those first two, there's so much getting, especially the second one. They throw like everything at you, but Yeah, I mean, I think the first two were very, very long, and it felt like not long enough because they threw so much at you. Where the third one clearly didn't have a lot, and then this one was, I don't know.
Well,
Let
this
us
one
know.
for those other ones, we can't bring it into that like trilogy because that trilogy was its own separate entity essentially. Whereas this was like kind of the origin story of like his documentaries.
It was, yeah, it's something that we've been doing. Two more to go, Sam. We're almost there. Blood Red Sky is next. Aren't you thrilled?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys want to see more Cool's reviews, like I said, it's been a lot of Chad's films, but click that link to your left or go to our, Cool's reviews playlist. We've done quite a bit of different reviews. Not even
Cool.
just on paranormal topics. We do a lot of history stuff or film reviews, so go check those out. Click the link to your right. You'll find more about what we're doing here at Cool's Paranormal. Lots of cool stuff, be it paranormal stuff, obviously, but a lot of history. If you like Billy the Kid, lots of Billy the Kid stuff. And if you guys would like and help us out, click that like, give us a subscribe.
Switch that notification bell from personalized to all if you want to be updated on the most recent videos. Let us know in the comments below if you've watched American Ghost Hunter and what your thoughts on it are. I mean, because we told ours and curious about what you think about it too. Thought it was if you thought it was real or if you were just like, I don't know about this. Yeah,
Yeah,
let us know.
and if you really want us to be glutton for punishment, let us know if you want us to check out Paranormal State every episode and make me read Ryan Buell's biography. But
Good luck, Keegan. I wish you the best. I'm gonna be sick.
hey, if the fans want it, we will do it. You guys let us know.
Or we will.
We will.